To the premiere of our videos. And we have Jamie, who's going to tell us a little bit about how they got made.
So first of all, I'd really like to welcome you all. I hope you're having an incredibly nice Central Coast Pride, and it's really a pleasure to be here. When this was planned, we thought, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Let's do some online thing for Pride. It's going to be sort of boring, or what can we do? And so we started thinking we had to find something. And it was Jean, thank you, Jean Buchanan, said, well, we thought maybe we could do a film or something. And she said, well, I know this filmmaker. And so one thing led to another, and we found Puppet, who's here. And we'll ask Puppet to speak in just a minute or two. And Puppet had made some really amazing films that we saw. And so that's just what we want to do. And we had some very generous donations from 3 different individuals who helped defray the cost of it a bit, and appreciate those. You'll see them at the end of the videos. And one of the things that they suggested was that we don't, that we open it to a broad section of the public and to members of our community and our allies, so that we can bring more people into this process. And that was a really wise decision. So, it costs a lot to make videos, even though there's a couple of minutes, but we're really delighted because we feel like what we've got here will provide us with something we can use in education, something we can use on our website, something we use in our on social media. I have a friend who's a filmmaker, and I showed him a preview, and he keeps wanting to put it on his website and just to show what people could do. So I'm excited. I'm thrilled. So there's a bunch of people who were in the film, and what I'd like to do is I want to first go to Puppet and ask Puppet to talk a little about what their thoughts were about the movie or the video, and then I'd like to maybe show it, and then we'll after it, I'd like to have the people who were featured in it, give them a chance to talk a little about their experience, and then throw it open to some discussion about the topic from the larger group, if that's okay. So Puppet, we love these videos. So would you like to talk just a little about what you were thinking and what you were doing when you put them together for us?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Puppet. I'm a queer non-binary filmmaker in Los Angeles. And it's always been important to me to advocate for the community and just like work on things that kind of make a difference. And so since I first got interested in filmmaking, I made some documentaries that were in kind of the style that you'll see with what we're screening tonight. And it comes like I ask questions, but kind of navigate through the interview process just from what comes up. So everything's a little different. And so the people I talk to kind of end up telling me what the films are going to be. So I don't go in knowing necessarily what the project's end result is. So I really enjoyed getting to know all of you and hope that you appreciate how it comes together. It feels like you're all in one conversation together is my goal.
Thank you so very much. Why don't we let's watch the pronouns video first, and then we'll talk about it. And if for some reason I get it screwed up and I don't share properly, somebody can please correct me, okay?
We cannot hear sound.
Okay. Thank you. I'll try it again. I forgot to click the proper button. Let's try it now. Oh, where did it go? Better?
Nothing so far.
No video or no audio.
No audio. Shoot. We practiced this the other day and it worked.
I know. It worked fine the other day. Sam, is there any kind of setting that you might have disabled?
I'm looking at it right now. You would need to click the share sound button when you click.
I did.
And is your computer muted, or your sound on your computer muted?
Nope. Okay, I'll try it again. I've got shared sound connect selected.
Yeah, Zoom is separate from the sound card.
When someone uses my correct pronouns, it makes me feel important and validated and like who I am. It's really empowering.
When someone uses the right pronouns, I feel safe.
In the beginning, it was just this warm feeling. It was so nice.
Oh, it's such a relief. Oh God, I love it so much.
I feel, more understood. I feel more respected.
It felt so validating and positive.
I feel safer.
Early in my transition, people using the right pronouns was wonderful.
Having people use both they, them, and she, her pronouns makes me feel seen. It makes me feel like they have, at the bare minimum, made some effort to understand who I am and to accept me for all that I am.
When they use the right pronouns, I feel good.
I get that kind of gender euphoria every once in a while.
And then you feel super euphoric. You're like, wow, he said, hey, like he opened the door for me and said, thank you, sir. Or, just small things like that.
It just feels so refreshing and like, yes, you see me for who I am and how I am presenting myself.
So if someone misgenders me and I correct them, usually what I hope to hear is just, oops, my bad.
Apologize and, correct and move on.
As long as you're not malicious about it, we're okay.
If they try to make a big deal out of it, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I never meant to offend you. It just gets really awkward really quickly.
I think if we are too afraid of making a mistake, then we lose the ability to connect with each other.
It's not that I don't want to make mistakes, but I do want to be corrected.
You're going to make mistakes, but if you care about each other, then there's forgiveness and understanding along the way.
I said, I'm so sorry. And they go, as long as you're trying and self-correcting, that's all I can ask.
Yeah.
Gender is really completely constructed.
I feel like it's, practice makes perfect in a way.
She's a she, and I have to keep working on the pronoun. It's just a pronoun, it's a word.
The best way for people to respond is just to carry on. Say, okay, and then carry on.
Don't make a big deal about it, but just use the damn pronouns.
I love the way that came out.
Oh, yeah, I know her. That was great.
Maybe on the next one you can put it in full screen mode.
Not get it there.
Really beautiful.
Okay.
So well done.
Really
So-
liked being a part of that video.
Yeah. So did we want to like do a Q&A session between the videos or do them both first, or how do you want to run that, Jamie?
I thought we just do one at a time and so do a little, just let people talk a little about this one first.
Okay. So I have a few prompts made up for this first video. But I mean, we can
But can we do it? Can we
I think-
open it first to the people who are in it?
Yeah. That works well with the first question because the question is, how did it feel to be featured in these videos for Pride Week?
Oh, one of us should answer that.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed being a part of this process and you know, being able to expand awareness and also put my words out there personally. And I'm really happy with what came out of it. I really like that. So
I was going to be polite and raise my hand, but I have to say I did really enjoy the process of being interviewed by Puppet. Puppet, you made it a really easy and as smooth as possible. I have been filmed for a short documentary on gender issues before, although that was in person. I had never done it over Zoom before. But honestly, Puppet really made the process very easy, and I'm glad to see that such a high quality film has come out of it.
Yeah. I feel honored to have been asked to be a part of it. I also feel like I often tell my story, but I like that it's recorded now in history, and I like that people can come and listen to it if they want to and access it online. And again, I'm just really proud that I get to be a part of this. And like I said, Puppet made it really, really easy for us.
I agree that Puppet made it very easy. At the end of it, though, I was thinking, oh my God, is there anything usable in this? But apparently there was. So it also made me think a lot, even after the interview, kind of went over the questions and thought more about the issues that have been brought up. So thanks, Puppet.
Yeah, I definitely reflect what everybody's saying here, that working with Puppet was a really positive experience, and it was absolutely an honor to be featured here today. I will also share that it just so happened that we filmed this 3 days before I was going to come out to my parents as non-binary. And so there were some points in that interview where I got a little bit emotional, and I don't think that showed up in this one that we just watched, but it was also a really nice way for me to reflect on those experiences in that context of, oh God, I'm about to come out.
Okay, so I actually wasn't in this video, but I'm in the other one. And it was a very validating experience to take part. One of the things that I am all about is building community and being visible. And so it felt good to be part of this production, but also something that I knew that was going to be featured on a website or used in future educational materials, or it just felt really good to be part of that. Yeah.
Ours also was a process because our child is not out in San Luis Obispo County. So they are out in LA and their community down there. So we had to get permission from our child. And I kind of waited with bated breath, and Jamie saying, you know, we need to know soon. And I really wanted to be part of it. So I again felt honored and relieved and happy that we could got that permission. And I know doing that somebody from our county might access this, and you know, we've kept this secret with a lot of the people we know, our close friends and family know, of course, but I also had to stop and take a breath and go, okay, this might be it. But I also believe that I was put on this earth to talk about different things that have affected my life. And I feel like this is a great way to put ourselves out there in our story. And if one person sees us and goes, oh my God, we know Janet and Mark. Oh, I didn't know this about them. And they could come to us. That feels very empowering and very powerful for me to know that I can be a resource and a source of education for others, just like my friends here from Trans Tuesday was for me, and I'm assuming for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Funny on this.
Yeah, what's the most memorable experience of being properly gendered? And tell us a little bit about how it felt.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. The fear that you have, the uncertainty and the doubt we bring into transitioning, when somebody does it right, it's a warm glow, almost euphoric in a little way. And on a side note, this is the first time I've ever heard myself played back on video. So I never knew what I sounded like to other people. And my first reaction was, who's that talking? Is it me? Yes, that is me. Oh my God, I do sound good. No wonder I don't have much trouble out in the cis world, if this is what I sound like to other people. And it's because I've never really had people misgender me too much, you know, in 10 years, twice. And those I remember vividly because they really hurt. So it's a lovely moment when somebody does, especially if it's unsolicited and you're not expecting it, then it's even that much nicer.
So I remember a experience when I was pretty early in my transition and I was still presenting fairly non-definitively, like non-binary. What am I trying to say? Androgynously. And I was in the grocery store checking out in a line in a market in Santa Barbara because we were on a picnic and we forgot something, and the cashier read me the right way and you know, gendered me properly, like is you know, how's everything going for you today, ma'am? And I thought, oh, what a sweetheart, you know. It just made my day to have him acknowledge me properly, even though I didn't feel like I was trying really hard to put out the vibes. And it was super validating. And that's one of them that sticks out in my mind. I have another, but I'll save that.
I've got one in that I was on a bike ride with Allie at Hazard's Peak, mountain biking, and we pulled off to the side to let someone pass. And I always worry that when I'm doing a sport or one of the activities I really love, that maybe I don't look feminine enough, or, you know, but we pulled over to let someone pass us and he said, "Thank you, ladies," and just continued on like it was nothing. And I think I was half dead at that point in the ride. And I think by the time I got to the top, Allie was dead behind me trying to keep up. I was so euphoric over it. So, it was an amazing moment for me.
I'm always dying trying to keep up with you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll say that for me, being gendered correctly is actually not something that happens very often, because they, them is not a default pronoun for most people. I've gotten ladies a lot more recently, especially if I'm spending time with someone who is presenting female. I just get automatically grouped together because of the long hair, which the mask is both a blessing and a curse, because if I drop my voice, I get masculine gendered, but also they cannot see the facial hair, so there's confusion. However, the most euphoric moment that I had recently, I was shopping at the Target in Santa Maria, and the cashier who I had at checkout, I don't think she specifically asked my pronouns, but she asked how I would like to be referred to in terms of sir or ma'am. And I was ecstatic that she had asked me that, because no one has ever asked me what my preferred honorifics are, to which I replied, captain, because captain is very gender neutral. And also, I may or may not be a pirate in my off time. And she was very excited to use that for me. And I thanked her for asking that from me. Because even something as simple as like, here is your receipt, captain, feels so much better than somebody using sir or ma'am.
Yeah. Do we have anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes.
So my child rarely gets gendered. Actually, I don't know my child's ever been gendered properly in public by people that we don't know. And I struggle with correcting people. I typically don't, unless it's like a doctor. If it's somewhere like that we're going to be going a lot, I will correct people, or I'll just tell them ahead of time. But I hesitate. What I really want to say is like, maybe don't assume gender. Just like saying, like just maybe saying something. But I'm kind of curious if anyone has ideas or feedback or suggestions for like what works well, or
an air horn works wonderfully. Just personal experience.
I love that.
Definitely, oh, that's my son, my daughter, my, whatever your child's preferred pronoun is, it's not a big deal. And it shouldn't be a big deal to anyone how a child or a parent wants someone to address them. And if it is, that's not your problem. That's kind of how I feel. Like if I give someone my pronoun and you refuse to expect it, then I don't intend to engage with you anymore. Like if you can't see me as at least a meat popsicle, then we have a problem. So
I think part of my hesitation, and I didn't clarify this, is like it makes him uncomfortable too. And I'm not trying to make him uncomfortable, but I also like kind of want to be an advocate. And so it's a little bit of like kind of a boundary.
Well, and it's a real push and pull, especially because I mean, I don't know how old your child is, if he's, really at the age where this kind of negotiation can happen. But I have known trans kids with parents like yours who want to advocate for them and things like that. And what I've seen be really successful is talking with a child about, how does it not like how does it feel, but how would you like me to address that when it comes up? What can I do with that? How would it make you feel if I did this? Or this is what I did. How did that make you feel? What can we do in the future? And that can be really hard, especially with a child who might be quite young and things like that. And I know that that's a really tricky question, but just having an advocate who's willing to be that person in your corner when and if you want them is a big deal. And having somebody who's also, being that advocate and centering your experience and making sure that your needs and your desires are being taken into account is really, really powerful in the long run.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. In my transition, I know that for a long time I was reluctant to correct people because I felt like I was somehow imposing on them to use the correct pronouns for me. And it took me a long time to learn that I should lean into that discomfort and stand for who I am. And so now I treat it just as a passing fact. It's like, oh no, it's ma'am. And then we move on and it's no big deal. But with your child, I mean, if there's a part of them that's like afraid of being embarrassed by their parents, making a big deal out of it or outing them or whatever, that's important to know. But I think it's also important for them to know that they have the right to stand up for their identity and that you back them on that 100%.
Can I ask how old your child is?
He's 12.
I would just like to say that I think also that regardless of your child's gender presentation, that their gender and identity has to be respected. So regardless of whether they present female or androgynous, if the child's identity is male and they want to be referred to by male pronouns, they have a right to assert that. And I know it's complicated with parents, but I think your son should know that it's okay, regardless of how he dresses, regardless of what he wears, what his voice sounds like. He has a right to choose the pronouns he wants and to request people honor that.
That's really helpful. And I think that's part of what it is he's so confident. He's like, I can dress however I want. I can wear whatever I want. He doesn't feel like he needs to fit into some kind of binary presentation. He doesn't feel like he needs to pass, but he gets constantly misgendered. And I feel like it's a societal issue. And so like, I want to change society to make him more comfortable.
Well, and in all honesty, I think, starting with trans pride is a good way to start down that road. I don't think you're wrong in any way, shape, or form. I don't think anyone here does. I think society has evolved pretty rapidly as of late on this issue, in some ways positive and in some ways negative. But, I feel like it's a continuing evolution. And the more people that we get on board, the better off we are. Or do you want to ask Jamie?
Jamie, do you want to move on to the next video?
Can I just talk to that question for a moment?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry.
So, it sounds like your child has concerns about making a fuss, which is very valid. And I guess what I'm trying to say is you definitely need to talk to them to see what they feel comfortable with. But in the end, it's probably that you're going to have to be able to read the room. And if saying, if someone says she and it's supposed to be he, you just say, oh, it's he, and move on, like wave it, move on. But what you don't want is to say that if there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to start asking a bunch of questions. So at least that's the impression I get from how you describe the reaction. from your son. So that's kind of how I would take that. You really have to read the room. In some cases, it's great to correct and move on. That makes us all feel good. It goes fast. But if it's going to become a big deal, if you feel like the room is going to like ask a bunch of questions or what's going on, then it's probably something you want to avoid and just let slide. At least.
Yeah, Alexi with a hand too.
I was just agreeing.
Oh, okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Okay, we're going to try the second one. I'm going to do better this time. And if not, we'll show them all again as they're short. So let's see how it goes.
If I could tell trans youth one thing today, it's don't be scared to be who you really want to be.
You're not alone.
The trans community, we are here for you guys and we are ready.
Come out, be yourself, be proud, and don't take crap from anyone.
You will get to the point where you can be your authentic self and live your authentic life. And when you do, that is going to be the most beautiful thing that you can experience.
You know, once you do come out and start living as who you want to be, you just kind of open up and your mind just feels free.
All of the things that you have been suppressing because you didn't want to show your gender identity, there is so much more that you are keeping hidden.
Life will get immeasurably better and you'll find your people.
You're not alone.
I feel like we're strong.
Don't listen to people that say that you're going to lose your relationship or your marriage. You might. I can't promise you won't. But you don't have to, and you're not going to lose all your friends.
There are people who care about you.
We're out here. The people who want to hear your story, the people who want to elevate your story, the people who want to make sure you can be authentic.
Be yourself. Just be who you are.
I want you to know that there's hope out there and there's life beyond the pain you're feeling, and there's people out there that love you and care for you.
You're beautiful and amazing as you are, and the world will love you. So be who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's over here, but just
so we thought we'd go ahead and kind of do it the same, to where we'd open it up to people within the video to start with, and we kind of had some, baseline questions, and if anything comes up, feel free to ask. Which one?
Oh, any one of them.
Oh, let's see. Since coming out, how important is visibility to you, and in what way?
No takers?
So, Aggie.
It's different for all of us. Some people, when they come out, don't want to be out that much, but some of us, it's, oh my God, I can go out into the world and be myself. So it becomes important to be able to present as who you know you've always been, and to be out in the world as you. And that is almost, for me, it's like almost an aphrodisiac, or my fix, or whatever, is to simply be myself with the world.
Validation.
Mm-hmm.
I have something to say.
Go for it.
So for me, it was really strange that as I was going through the first part of my transition, I had someone who is like a very outspoken advocate tell me, oh, you may want to be an advocate and, you know, make yourself public. And I thought, no, that is not Allie. And and as time went by, I found out that I really am proud of who I am. And it became really extremely important to me to be visible, because I know how many years I spent just agonizing over the question of if I could actually do this, if I could pull it off. And I know that there's people out there like me that are struggling with that very same question. And so by being visible and by being an advocate and by being outspoken and by doing these things where I'm facilitating groups and that type of stuff, I know that I'm reaching people, and I know that I'm improving someone's life somewhere. And I've actually had messages from people telling me exactly that, which is the most validating thing in the world you can ever have happen. Just someone to say, wow, I was like afraid to be myself until I saw you. And for me, I mean, there were some people like that in my life, people that I saw being successfully trans. And that's a weird combination of words, right? Successfully trans, but really I believe like if I went through transition that I would crash and burn in society. And actually having like a role model, someone I saw that was doing it, gave me so much power. And so that's why it's so important to me now to actually go to the grocery store and prance around in a gay pride dress, and, you know, let some kid somewhere see that, hey, that lady can do it. Why can't I? You know, it's important to me. It's extremely important to me. So
Allie just totally kind of stole my comment, and I really don't appreciate it. But I went to a concert with my wife for Rainbow Kitten Surprise. And the bassist, I believe, is non-gender conforming or gender fluid. I don't remember the exact specifics, and I feel terrible about it since I'm bringing it up. But that was the first time I ever remember seeing somebody who was non-conforming, like in person. Nonetheless, that they were up on a stage 50 feet away, but in person, and going, wow, wait a minute, that's a thing. And people like that exist, and thinking, you know, maybe I could come out. And fast forward 2 years, and there I am. And I kind of feel like Allie, where, you know, maybe someone sees me downtown and a sister or a brother or a they, them finds some confidence. And that's kind of the hope as far as being visible, I think. Does anyone else have anything on that? Or
you see Jamie?
So one thing about being visible that's really struck me is, I mean, I used to be terrified to be visible. I was sure that everyone was staring at me. And one of the biggest change that's happened in my life is to realize that when I find people looking at me curious, is that person trans? Is that person a man? Is that a woman?
For later.
I take great pride actually in it, because I have this thought that I want somebody to go home, somebody who's never seen or doesn't know a trans person. I want them to go home that night and tell their spouse or family they saw a trans person downtown today. And then I hope that next week they see somebody else, and the next week they see somebody else, and pretty soon they notice, but it doesn't register anymore. It's just, yeah, I saw a trans person. So it's part of a normalization process for me. And it gives me great pleasure when I see somebody checking me out now. And it's astonishing because it's such a tremendous change from the way I used to be.
I'd like to give an input. Obviously it's for, as I believe Peggy mentioned, it's everybody's choice and how they feel about being out. But I really believe that the more of us who are themselves, whether it's because you're trans or you're gay or whatever your difference is, I think that just that's educating the community, that's educating the world, and we're going to have a safer world and a better world as we address everyone's diversity. And visibility for me didn't feel like a choice. It felt like, as I was transitioning, I was in law school and I was working at Caltrans in this area. And it's like, I was in that in-between stage, and that was very uncomfortable. And so I was visible. I had to tell everybody at work. I had to tell everybody at law school because I was, starting the physical transition. And, it got to the point where I started it was like this person who was on the Dave Congleton show, and then I was on New Times. And it was hard at first, and it was hard for a number of years. Sometimes it would feel like somebody was skinning me alive because I was like so out there. But I somehow feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And it makes me feel good to be an advocate for this community. And so I just hope more people can feel comfortable with doing so and being out, because I think when we hide, there's something that we say in some of our groups, you're only sick as your secrets. And I don't want me to be a secret. And I want to, I don't have to run around and tell somebody in a bar and get beat up, because of it. But I need to be out there to the people that I'm going to make a difference to. And that's at schools and different things like that. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Doug.
Jean has a hand up.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. So to those who have been out and been visible, as a parent, you have helped me. And prior to my child transitioning and letting me know that he was trans, I had a friend who shared their experience transitioning and talking to parents who were not supportive and hearing the hurt that person went through. And I had another parent who shared with me from a very conservative background how her child did not fit in any boxes and was non-binary and what that meant. And I had another friend who shared very openly with the community when her child transitioned early in elementary school, and just, made it an announcement of, it is what it is, and this is my child, and this is how we expect everybody to address them and discuss them with correct pronouns, and then other people too. But those three people especially helped me better know how to respond when my child came to me and shared that he was transgender. And I don't know what my reaction would have been without that knowledge from those people. But even if you're talking to people who you don't think are getting it or have that connection, you never know. And so I just wanted to let you know that as a parent, the stories that everybody shares have made a world of difference outside of trans events. You know, this is definitely a safe space at a trans event, but outside, you know, on Facebook or just in discussions, it really makes a difference when people are faced with something they didn't expect, and being able to be that supportive person that others need. So thank you.
So great to hear. And that's exactly what I'm going for.
Which one?
Anyone else? Serena.
If I can, yeah.
There you go.
For me, I'm visible because of the lack of visibility in my life growing up. Because that lack of visibility really delayed my start on this path to understanding who I really am. It took me a long time to even just figure out that I was non-binary, just because I didn't understand it as an option. You know, I knew a couple of non-binary people when I was in college, but like I still didn't really understand it beyond, oh, my friend uses they, them pronouns, because the binary is so deeply ingrained in our culture in so many ways that we really can't even see at first. So like, I genuinely believed that everybody had this deep rooted feeling that their assigned gender was just completely arbitrary, and that all women felt constantly stifled by being female, even outside of the ways that, you know, women are oppressed within our society. I just thought that everyone felt that way. And I didn't understand why I didn't relate to other cisgender women. I thought that the problem was with me. So I am visible in the hope that the next person in the next generation has that opportunity earlier on to understand themselves and to have some story or someone who they might be able to relate to.
Anybody else want to chime in? Okay, next question we have.
What's the most surprising or unexpected thing you've experienced because of your transition? I have an answer for this one, but I'm going to let Allie go first because she was bouncing up and down on it.
Oh, wow. Okay. It kind of goes together with my my advocacy, but I was a wallflower. I was quiet. I didn't want people to notice me. I did not want to stand out in any way because I was hiding this giant secret. And I figured transition was going to just make that worse because I already felt like I was under the spotlight. And what happened was I actually became comfortable with who I am and confident in what I believe in. And I became, well, chatty, to be honest. I have an opinion now. I never had that before. And I don't hesitate to jump in there and let people know what I'm thinking or how I feel or, you know, any number of things. So that was really the biggest surprise to me. It was like, wow, this is like 100% the opposite of what I expected it was going to be. So anybody else want to go before Jenny tells us her thing? What's the most surprising or unexpected thing you've experienced because of your transition? Yeah, I'm going to make her wait.
Thank you.
Come on, somebody.
So I would say the most surprising thing out of my transition was finding new friends. You know, I grew up lots of friends and everything, but then you find out as you get older that they're not friends, they're acquaintances or passerbys within your life, and you know, people that kind of come and go. We've all had them in our lives, people that we thought would be there forever, and then things just didn't work out that way. But I really feel like the friends that I have made and the relationships that I have made since I transitioned are much deeper and longer lasting, because they're really mine personally. You know, they're Jennifer's. They're not who I was before. And not to say that those relationships from before don't matter, but they're a little different for some people. In my case, I have some people that, you know, they were like, oh, cool, you're Jennifer now. All right. When are we going fishing? And some people, it was like, oh my God, I can't talk to you now. So, you know, the people that know me now have seen me at what I felt was kind of my lowest, even though it's what became my highest now. But, you know, you kind of get to choose your family when you come out. And I found that that was amazing. So, anyone else before I move on to the next question?
Peggy?
Ah, yes, Peggy.
Yeah. The one really big change I had was I realized just how judgmental I was in my life. That I would sum up a person and put them in the box and walk away, never to think of them again. Because I was always harsh with myself. I was always on guard. I didn't like who I was. So in my mind, no one else could like me, so why should I like them? Transition has opened up the ability to be a lot more empathetic to people that I have judged harshly in the past, to be able to look back and go, I was wrong. And the ability to put yourself in another's place, which is something men are not taught how to do, and they don't really ever have a chance to practice it very much. That once I could accept myself for who I was, warts and all, suddenly I could look at other people that I had judged and see them in a new light. And that's one of the great benefits that transition has done for me. It was always first impressions only. Now I never judge anybody by first impressions. It's open. Let me get to know you first. Let you get to know me. Because like I said, the person who you know their story is very hard to hate. And that's one of the criteria that I use in my life now is I want people to know who I am and what my story is, because it makes them harder to be judgmental towards the trans community if they know a trans. And then the reverse thing is people I have judged, I can now apply that which I want the world to do. I can now do it for others, where in my past I never could.
Thank you, Peggy. You want to ask for allies?
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about how those of us who were in the video, you know, these questions and stuff, but for the rest of the community that's attending, do you have questions for us that you would like to ask? Anyone?
I have one question.
Sure.
I would like to, well, I'm not sure if it's more of a question or just opening up a conversation topic. How have other trans and gender nonconforming people. What have your experiences been in professional settings at work and whatnot? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm really struggling there. So yeah, if anybody has like, I don't know, maybe advice or like stories they want to share, because you know, like being out in public and living your life, it's very different than like being in a professional setting, because being in a professional setting, I feel like, you know, you have to try to respect each other, have to try to be coworkers. But then when it comes to, I think somebody brought it up earlier, it was at the very start, saying, oh, once people know you're trans, things switch up. And like that part. So yeah, if anybody has anything they would like to say, I would really appreciate that.
So I actually just ended a 12-year career with the local court. And it wasn't really due to the court or coworkers. I really didn't have any issues with my transition through the court, or anything like that. They treated me really well. But I've kind of felt like before I transitioned, I didn't know I was unhappy. And as I got through my transition and got to know myself, my real self more, I realized how unhappy I was. And I submitted a resignation to go chase my dreams and do what I want to do. And I can't imagine ever having done that prior to coming out. Even with a supportive workplace, for the most part, I feel like before I transitioned, I was so unhappy, I didn't know I was unhappy. And the transition really made that poignant for me. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Do you have input on that one?
I do, but I want Alexi to speak first, and then I will go if no one else does.
Yeah, so speaking as someone who has been out professionally for a couple of years now, I will say that it's kind of a game of weighing your battles. I work in theater, which can be a significantly more accepting industry to be in than, say, working in legal or working in a public school, et cetera, et cetera. But what I found has made some of the biggest difference, because I work both. I'm a technical person in theater, so I work with directors and designers and all the people on that side, but I also work directly with actors, cast members, singers, etc. What I have found to be most useful is that even if it's just everyone in a group introducing themselves, I include my pronouns. Because I don't even have to go into detail about it, but it just gives the people I'm working with a heads up that, hey, I don't use what you might think I use. And that way I'm not really, I guess it is in a way outing myself, but it's nothing in depth. And also, even before I was doing that, I started just wearing a little enamel pin on my shirt that said they, them pronouns, please. And I would wear that to like work social functions. And that made it a lot easier to broach the topic without having direct confrontations with the people I worked for or the people I worked with. While theater is a more progressive industry to be in, there's still a lot of binarist rhetoric and expectations. I am thankful I'm not an actor because the struggle of trans and gender nonconforming actors is unimaginable for me. But I have had experiences where I was working in a theater that wanted to assign me specifically to a male or female dressing room, depending on how I was presenting. And it's not great because I know what I'm doing. I know how to do my job. And to me, it doesn't matter the gender of the person I'm working on. Now, granted, there's a whole other layer with that person finding comfort in working with me, but I find that it is more valuable that those people trust that I know how to do my job rather than who I am personally, especially if it's someone I'm not going to be interacting with outside of a work setting. They just need to trust that I know what I'm doing and that I can do my job efficiently, no matter what my personal life, how I present myself, my pronouns, whatever. Respect me, and I will send you on stage looking like a star. If you don't respect me, well, then your wig is going to be tangled for the next 3 weeks.
Wait, you can work on wigs. We need to be friends, Alexi. I need help.
Okay, I'm remembering who was next.
I think that was me.
Tori. Yeah. Tori was next.
So I just wanted to echo some of what Alexi said about sharing your pronouns. When you go in, it really helps frame how people understand how to interact with you. And I think that will help. Also, you're starting off in a good place because you're going in who you are as opposed to transitioning out of job, which does make things trickier. Transitioning out of job means people have to adjust their expectations of you, and that is definitely more difficult for everyone. Finally, I'll say like public and school jobs are just more accepting because legally they're bound to be and they're all kind of trained to be. That works out really quite well. I think in the younger generation, for most corporate jobs, it's okay. But when you do start getting up in the higher like CEO level, there are some challenges that you'll have to face, not unlike that you'll have to face socially. And I will share with you an interesting experience. So I transitioned while I was working at a company where I was managing 800 people, and I was basically in the board of directors meetings fairly frequently. It made people very uncomfortable. I was truly frightened that I was going to lose my job, and I did lose some say. I noticed that what I said was given less merit, but I struggled through that and I made it, and that was okay. And this is 20 years ago. So an interesting thing happened. I started to pass, and new people that were coming in didn't know, and that was a great feeling. They would treat me as I was presenting, and that was lovely. And then one time, as I was presenting our technical situation, somebody ignored me, and I was the inventor of this technology, and looked to my engineer who I had hired and trained. He was male. And it dawned on me at that moment that I was experiencing sexism in a very strange way. And that both made me prideful, I'm passing, and angry as hell. So I don't know what to say about that, except that was an interesting experience. But I guess what I'm trying to say overall is I think things are improving. I think as long as you go in earnestly being yourself, it'll stay that way. You won't feel any transition shock. And I sort of feel like the only place you really get that negative impact is where you're in the boys club at the really, really top level. And that doesn't usually happen in educational facilities or government facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to comment on this question?
I'm going to step away for a minute and let Allie run the show. But before I do that, I kind of wanted to leave everybody with a favorite quote of mine that's really kind of personally helped me through my transition and all the difficulties I've faced kind of throughout my life. It's been a running theme, and it's from Helen Keller. And it says, "Life is an adventure or nothing." And when I decided to transition, I kind of took it on as an adventure to see where it would go. And I'm really excited to see what the next chapter of my adventure is. And I hope more people are like that. You know, I hope people are excited, not worried about the next chapter of their adventure. So thank you, everyone. And I'm going to let Allie.
Okay. That's a great quote. Life is an adventure or nothing. When Jenny was talking about her experience at work, I sort of flashed on my experience at work, because I'm also not working right now. I guess you could say I'm semi-retired. And with my situation, I assumed that I was not going to be well received because I worked in agriculture, which is sort of a boys' club. And I turned out to be nothing further from the truth. I was very well received. The people who worked for me and around me just completely adopted my new identity without breaking stride. And it's funny, I even had a staff meeting to make the announcement. And, you know, from the back row, of course, one of the guys like shouted out, "So when's the barbecue? When are we going to celebrate?" And I just thought that was the greatest thing, that that they had my back that way. And I felt really good. But the surprising thing in all of that was I did have one coworker, a superior, who was not, well, let's just say they were toxic. And I had put up with it for so long because I was living that life where I wanted to keep my head down and not have an opinion and not be noisy. And within 6 months of coming out, I finally realized that I had value. And I ended up leaving the position because I decided for myself, because I had self-respect now, I decided nobody gets to treat me like that. And if the company's not going to do something about it, then I'm not going to stay there. And so that was a big surprise. It was the exact opposite of what I expected to happen. I really thought they would figure out some way to let me go, you know, because of some, I don't know, hidden transphobia or whatever. And that didn't happen, but I gained the self-respect through coming out that I finally realized I didn't want to work there anymore because it was a toxic place to work. So that was a little bit of a surprise. And I've never been happier, and I'm doing fine, by the way. So that's my work story. I see some new chats here, which I didn't read. Okay, Serena, looks like you want to chime in.
Yeah. I want to start out by saying that I wholly recognize that this approach is not going to work for everybody. And there are a lot of people for whom this approach will definitely not work. But what I have found to be really helpful for me is when I experience because I've worked from like, I've worked in places where I would never in 100 million years come out, no way, no how, would never happen. But then I've worked in other places where, you know, I felt like I might have more of a chance of being accepted and having that be okay. But I still, I wasn't out, and I was still hearing microaggressions. I was hearing people say passive, cruel comments about trans people. And what worked for me then, and has continued to work for me as I have come out and been openly non-binary, has been kind of confronting that with kindness. And that's hard to do, especially when those comments are so mean. But it can be really disarming when somebody says, oh, something disparaging about trans people, or even about you specifically, and oh, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. This has actually been my experience, and everybody I know has had this experience, and this is what I actually know. And well, I'm a likable person. These people like me. And if I'm a likable, good person who experiences those things, well, what does that mean? And it can be really disarming. And I've I've heard some people say some really god awful things, and I've been able to respond to it that way. And you can kind of just see them go, it's always a startle reaction at first, and then kind of sinking into this uneasy listening stance. And then the conversation just gets easier from there. And it's so hard to do, and it's not always safe, but when it is effective, I have really seen it make a massive difference in the workplace.
I just want to say thank
Allie,
you.
you're muted, honey.
I appreciate your comments. Alexi, what were you saying?
Sorry.
I was telling Allie that she was muted.
Yeah, I was on mute and I was speaking. I didn't think
Yeah.
you all wanted to hear my cat and her hairball.
No, and Peggy has her hand up.
Okay, why don't we go to Peggy?
I transitioned on the job. I worked for the military. I worked a military MOS job for 45 years. And I was never really happy in my job. The last 5 years of my job, I was happy because I had transitioned. And in that time, I was known to be rough, sharp, and I only spoke to people when I knew I was absolutely right and they weren't. Transition allowed me to, like I said earlier, a little more empathy, but I didn't let insults bother me. Because once I transitioned, I was happy with who I was, and I was happy in the job I did. And I would get slights and insults from the contractors I worked with. I would get slights from Air Force people, especially the younger ones, younger airmen. And it didn't seem to bother me as much because I was confident in who I was. And insults come, in my view, from envy and, oh, we can't have you feeling better about yourself. We have to take you down a peg. And these things didn't bother me anymore. We had a couple of guys at work that would notoriously using homosexual references to dig at other men. Let's dig at your masculinity, ha, ha, ha. And when that was tried with me, I just smiled and said, "Oh my God, dear, you're so right." And it would fluster them because I wasn't getting upset. In the past, I would have tried to kill them, you know, or throw something at them. You know, you can get away with that when you're the most senior shop person in your bargaining unit. You can do things like that and get away with it. But I started laughing at it. And after the first year of that and me not reacting and laughing at these attempts to use homosexual references and gay references to try to undermine me because I was presenting female, it basically stopped because it wasn't working, because I was not reacting to it anymore. People would say and do things, and I just smile and go, okay, they haven't learned yet. It don't bother me anymore. Because transitioning gave me the confidence to know I was a good person, I was good at my job, and I treated other people fairly from that point on after I transitioned. So I was able to deal with the male society, as it were, in the military. A lot of people did try to minimalize your opinion, would not take your word for things. And I just found many ways to ignore it or to show them how wrong they were in a very pleasant manner without getting upset. And I credit the fact that I had an extremely good manager. He was very good because I had trained him 20 years earlier. I was his trainer. And when I transitioned on the job, he was the contract manager, but he was my biggest supporter. And there's a lot of people that didn't like him, but he treated everybody fair. He treated me fair, and I was going to treat the company fair. So we all got along. So things can seem bad at first, especially if you don't have the confidence in yourself. I would say that is the number one thing to work on, is to be happy and to be sure of who you are inside. Because once you are, people throw things at you from the outside don't stick.
That's a great strategy, like reclaiming the words.
Like I had one person tell me, "I'll never work with you. I don't like you. I've had too many problems with people like you." And I looked at the guy and I just said, "I'm going to make you my friend. You have no choice. I'm going to make you like me." So I was the most pleasant person to this individual. And within 6 months, his attitude changed so dramatically, it was unfunny. Just a simple story of my working life.
No, so anybody that wanted to use the, the queer terms as a negative, derogatory remark on me needs to go look at my car, because it's still decorated from the Pride Parade, car parade thing the other day. And I'm proud to be driving it around.
It's hella gay.
It's
I love
so
it.
gay. Anyway, so I have a quote that I want to kind of wrap things up with, and then Jamie's going to replay the videos for the people that came in late, but I think I'm going to kind of turn the meeting over to her, and I'm going to bail. But this is something that really embodies how I feel about life right now. And this is from an interview with Charlie Martin, who is she's a race car driver who transitioned on the job in Formula One racing. So it's an international sport. And there was a lot of pushback for her in the beginning, but In the interview, she was prompted with, a statement, well, returning to life as an openly transgender woman was the hardest thing to do in your career, but it was also the beginning of a new chapter. And she replied with, yeah, that's such a eureka moment in your life because suddenly anything feels possible. And you realize that, wow, if I can do this, then what can't I do? And you start pushing yourself, you start believing in yourself, and that's what really unlocked my potential as a human being. And I really like that because I feel it. I feel it so profoundly. I am doing things that I never thought I could do. And that's in the sporting world, that's in the business world and the social world and the advocacy world. I mean, just all around, everything has been unlocked for me. And the only regret I have is that I didn't do this years earlier so that I had more time. But I've got some time left and I'm going to make the best of it. So, Jamie, you want to take it from here and introduce the videos?
Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Again, just in the interest of time, it's almost 8. We said we'd end at 8. But I'd just like to show the videos again. They're short, 2 to 3 minutes. And I want to thank all of you who were willing to sit and do the interviews. It sounds like it was a good process. I see the screen is wonderful to have it all in this way. I see dear friends and dear trans friends and other friends here. And so it's, thank you all so much for doing it. So let's just blast through the videos and then we'll
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to sign off.
Happy birthday, Allie. Happy birthday, Allie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Here we go.
If I could tell trans youth one thing today, it's don't be scared to be who you really want to be.
You're not alone.
The trans community, we are here for you guys and we are ready.
Come out.
We're only seeing the title
yourself,
card.
Keep proud and don't take crap from anyone.
You will get to the point where you can be your
That video doesn't like you, does it?
It does not. Okay, I'm going to thank you all for telling me. Okay, it's set up exactly right. Okay, I think we'll do the pronouns one first, see how that works. Everything's right. So somebody tell when it starts if it's working, okay? So look good so far?
So far. When someone uses my correct pronouns, it makes me feel important and validated and like who I am. It's really empowering.
When someone uses the right pronouns, I feel safe.
In the beginning, it was just this warm feeling. It was so nice.
Oh, it's such a relief. Oh God, I love it so much.
I feel, more understood. I feel more respected.
It felt so validating and positive.
I feel safer.
Early in my transition, people using the right pronouns was wonderful.
Having people use both they, them, and she, her pronouns makes me feel seen. It makes me feel like they have, at the bare minimum, made some effort to understand who I am and to accept me for all that I am.
When they use the right pronouns, I feel good.
I get that kind of gender euphoria every once in a while.
And then you feel super euphoric. You're like, wow, he said, hey, like he opened the door for me and said, thank you, sir. Or, just small things like that.
It just feels so refreshing and like, yes, you see me for who I am and how I am presenting myself.
So if someone misgenders me and I correct them, usually what I hope to hear is just, oops, my bad.
Apologize and, you know, correct and move on.
As long as you're not malicious about it, we're okay.
If they try to make a big deal out of it, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I never meant to offend you, it just gets really awkward really quickly.
I think if we are too afraid of making a mistake, then we lose the ability to connect with each other.
It's not that I don't want to make mistakes, but I do want to be corrected.
You're going to make mistakes, but if you care about each other, then there's forgiveness and understanding along the way.
I said, I'm so sorry, and they go, as long as you're trying and self-correcting, that's all I can ask.
Yeah.
Gender is really completely constructed.
I feel like it's, you know, practice makes perfect in a way.
She's a she, and I have to keep working on the pronoun. It's just a pronoun, it's a word.
The best way for people to respond is just to carry on. Say, okay, and then carry on.
Don't make a big deal about it, but just use the damn pronouns.
Okay, now to try the second one.
Sam, can you pin the interpreter?
Jamie, are you able to pin the interpreter's video?
I have no idea how to do that.
We're good. We're good. I'm
She's pinned.
Huh? I don't even know.
Okay, hope this one works.
If I could tell trans youth one thing today, it's don't be scared to be who you really want to be.
You're not alone.
The trans community, we are here for you guys and we are ready.
Come out, be yourself, be proud, and don't take crap from anyone.
You will get to the point where you can be your authentic self and live your authentic life. And when you do, that is going to be the most beautiful thing that you can experience.
You know, once you do come out and start living as who you want to be, you just kind of open up and your mind just feels free.
All of the things that you have been suppressing because you didn't want to show your gender identity, there is so much more that you are keeping hidden.
Life will get immeasurably better and you'll find your people.
You're not alone.
I feel like we're strong.
Don't listen to people that say that you're going to lose your relationship or your marriage. You might. I can't promise you won't. But you don't have to, and you're not going to lose all your friends.
There are people who care about you.
We're out here. The people who want to hear your story, the people who want to elevate your story, the people who want to make sure you can be authentic.
Be yourself. Just be who you are.
I want you to know that there's hope out there and there's life beyond the pain you're feeling, and there's people out there that love you and care for you.
You're beautiful and amazing as you are, and the world will love you. So be who you are.
All right. Thanks so much again. I think our time is up. If anybody's got anything they just absolutely have to say, now's your last chance.
I just want to thank Puppet again. I thought Puppet did an amazing job, and again,
thank you, Puppet.
Wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also wanted to say thank you to Puppet for putting together such a fantastic video, 2 videos, a great presentation, and it was really a joy to be here tonight.
Good job, Puppet.
All right. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a great Pride. And for those of you trans people, be proud of being trans and non-binary. And for your supporters, keep being strong and supporting us. It's really important. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, Peggy.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna leave it.